Welcome to General Dynamics. I'm Chris Montferrat, and I'm the Director of Undersea Systems Business Development here in Pittsfield. And I'd like to welcome you on behalf of General Dynamics and the Berkshire United Way to our workforce campaign kickoff. And I'd like to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and join us. More relevant than my role with General Dynamics is my role as a Board of Directors member for the Berkshire United Way. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in the Berkshires now for 32 years. I moved here right out of college from New Jersey and started to engage with General Electric at the time in the community and realized what a vibrant and outstanding community the Berkshires was, and the community that I had become a part of. The nice thing about GE introduced me to the concept of corporate philanthropy. And it was very, very important, as many of you know, the legacy of General Electric, really important to engage in the community, to be part of the community. And one of the biggest benefactors of General Electric in this community was the United Way. So very early in my career, I learned the value and the importance of the United Way and the role that it played in the community and how important it was to be part of giving to the United Way. Shortly after moving here, I met my wife, Monica. She's a longtime resident of the Berkshires. She was born and raised here. We married, had some children, and really established deep roots here in the Berkshires. And that was really the first time that the United Way touched me in a personal way. Both of my children were premature. And my daughter was 3 pounds, 3 ounces when she was born. So by preemie standards, she was kind of a monster, but she was a little nugget. And we got involved with the Pediatric Development Center, which, like many of the agencies that the United Way supports, does great work in the community that sometimes isn't known by everyone, and the fact that the United Way is helping those organizations also is not well known by folks in the community. But with that start, and then as I grew in the organization, started to get involved in volunteerism as I saw the needs in the community. Started with church, with youth activities, the Dalton CRA, youth sports, and the more I got engaged in the community, the more obvious it was that there was need in the community, need on many levels, not just financial need in terms of donating, but also volunteerism and need to get people engaged and create positive role models. And again, an organization like the United Way synthesizes that and creates those opportunities across many different agencies to allow folks to get engaged, whether it's financially through donating or donating time or their talent to organizations throughout the county. So that was the easy part. That's the part I kind of know, my life. I'm going to turn a little bit to my notes to make sure that I hit some key points now. The United Way's focus on building strong families through early childhood development, positive youth development, and economic prosperity makes a major difference in this community. These initiatives, the impact that it has, doesn't just happen. It requires people's energy, it requires people's passion, it requires people's resources. And as I said before, it's resources volunteering or resources in terms of financial contribution to allow us to execute the game-changing programs that the United Way sponsors. And that's why we're here today, to kick off the annual Berkshire United Way Workplace Campaign. As many of you know, times have gotten tough for the United Way and many nonprofit organizations in the county with the shift in the demographics, with the shift in corporate leadership, businesses leaving the county, businesses relocating their headquarters from the county. It's been a major hit in many ways on the United Way and many of the other organizations in the county. And so those of us that are here have a bigger and more difficult responsibility to make up the difference for the reduction that we've seen in campaign contributions over the years as some of these major donors have left. I mean, this building was once General Electric Plastics, the headquarters for plastics. General Dynamics is here now. It's great that we've been able to grow our business to the point to allow us to expand over here. But those of you who've been around for a while can remember the size of the donation, the number of volunteers that came out of General Electric. That's not here anymore, right? So there's a gap that we are all working very, very hard to fill. We're not going to do it by ourselves, right? We need every one of you to help us there. I love the slogan for the United Way that we're using now, Here for Good. It's got, multiple meanings, and I always thought about here for good, oh, we're not going anywhere, right? That was where my engineering brain always kind of jumped to. But here for good in its other context is we are here to do good, and we do good in the community. And so I love the fact that you get both of those meanings out of that, here for good. And, oh, by the way, we're here for good, and we need all of you to help us stay here. This year's campaign goal is $2.3 million. It's a large goal, big challenge. And in order to do that, everybody's going to need to step it up. We need roughly a 5% increase in campaign giving from every organization in the campaign in order to achieve that $2.3 million goal. And, as leaders, as business leaders, as community leaders, you think about it. It's either, it can be increased contributions of individuals who are already contributing. It can be increased numbers of contributors, right? Even if you get a new donor at $1 in your organization, that donor will someday grow to be a $5 donor, to be a $10 donor, to become a leadership level donor someday in the United Way. So that's just as important as increasing contributions of your major donors, is just getting the participation up within your organizations. So on to the agenda for the day. We have a fairly brief agenda. We wanted you to hear from Carlos Zaffanella, the Vice President and General Manager for Maritime and Strategic Systems here at General Dynamics, about why he is personally invested in the United Way and why General Dynamics corporately invests in the United Way. He's also invited a special guest to speak today as well, one of our employees who's been touched by the Berkshire United Way, to tell you a little bit about his story. And Mike Kusak's going to do that right after Carlo. And then Carlo will turn it over to Candace Winkler, the new CEO of Berkshire United Way. And she's going to talk about the great things going on at the Berkshire United Way and the importance of the annual campaign as a funding source to support our critical programming. For those of you who haven't had a chance to meet Candace, you're in for quite a treat. Candace was selected earlier this year as our new CEO after a nationwide search. She comes to the Berkshire United Way with 15 years of experience as a nonprofit CEO. She's an effective fundraiser who's secured multi-million-dollar gifts, a grant maker who's partnered with nonprofits to address community needs, and a seasoned executive who has partnered with high-powered board to lead statewide community foundation during a time of growth and change. Oh, by the way, she also has 2 master's degrees from Columbia. I'll just throw that in there. She's very, very qualified, highly qualified for this position. We're very lucky to have her. She's passionate about helping youth and families, understands how to engage in partnerships, and utilize philanthropy to strengthen communities. She's also spent most of her career in Alaska, which is important to us here in the Berkshires, because the winter will not scare her off, okay? We got nothing on her. She's spent many, many years up in Alaska, and she's looking forward to a mild winter here in the Berkshires. And the board is delighted to have Candace as our new CEO, and we're confident that as you get to know her, you'll be just as excited as we are with our selection of Candace as our new CEO. Now I'd like to turn the floor over to Carlos Zaffanella. As I stated earlier, Carlos is the Vice President and General Manager for Maritime and Strategic Systems, a $1 billion plus line of business within General Dynamics Mission Systems. What many of you may not know is that Carlo is also a local. So I originally said he was born and raised here. He corrected me. He was born in Italy. but he came here at the age of 3, and he's been here ever since. So he's deeply rooted in the community. He understands the issues of the Berkshires. He and I have been friends for all 32 years. He and Amy are some of the first friends that Monica and I made when I moved here so many years ago. And so, without further ado, Brenda told me not to say that. I'd like to turn it over to Carlo Zappanelli.
Yeah, what he failed to tell you is that actually Monica, his wife, was my first boss. I was a camp counselor at Camp Sumner, YMCA camp back when. Wow, yeah, that seems like a long time ago.
My boss.
Hey, good morning. Thanks everybody for being here. It's great to see you, especially great to see you in this atrium. This has a lot of special meaning for us, having expanded here a few years ago and actually sort of getting ready to do a little bit more expansion in this area. So it's exciting, it's fun, and it's great to see everybody. I'm pretty proud to be the general manager at General Dynamics Mission Systems. I'd say I'm even more proud to be a big fan and a big supporter of the United Way. And of course, today is all about the United Way. You all just got a nice introduction to Candace, and I'll look forward to hearing from her coming up here. So pretty remarkable. You get a measure of a person right away in terms of how committed are they to the mission and to the job, right? So surely she did some research before coming here. She says, oh, General Dynamics, you know, one of the largest local employers. I need to put some pressure on these people. So it's a big county, right? There's a lot of land area. So where does she choose to move? Right next door to me. Maximum possible pressure. Look, all jokes aside, the United Way tackles the toughest problems in our community, and we certainly have plenty of them. Not that it isn't a great place to live, it is. But amongst us, there's also a lot of challenges. If you think about it, look at who's around you right now. Who are we? We're the business leaders in the community. Do you work hard? Absolutely. Every one of you works hard. I work hard. Think about how close it is to a twist of fate that maybe we'd be the ones that the United Way needed to help, right? I mean, it's easy to think, oh, you know, doing great, work hard, you know, life is good, sure. But there's plenty of people who work hard and life isn't so good, and they're all around us. And a lot of communities have need. I think if you look realistically at the demographics of the Berkshires, there's at least as much need here as there is anywhere in the Commonwealth. And that's something that you all need to address. It's something that I need to address. I used to say, and as I was sort of learning in this job some years ago, that it was a great opportunity to help the United Way or to represent General Dynamics in front of a lot of civic organizations and charities and whatnot. It's not our opportunity any more than it's yours. It's your obligation. Okay? When we are the ones who have more, the ones who are more fortunate, it is our fundamental moral, ethical obligation to help those who need help. And while everything's great, right? Being a coach, being a volunteer, Habitat for Humanity, all great. So is it also great to donate to the United Way, because the United Way studies the problem, and they look, I think, very analytically at where the needs are greatest, and they go and help make your contributions and the contributions of your employees matter the most. And that's a very big deal. And so, again, I've sort of shifted in my life. I'm sort of in many ways very fortunate. I grew up here, as Chris said, and I'm you know, now running this employer. It took me too long to understand how important it is to represent General Dynamics employees in the community. And it is the same way as it's important for all of you to represent your employees in the community. It's really important. We have a lot of good things happening at GD. We have been growing and expanding. I actually thought that Fred Ruppberg was going to be here today, but I don't see him. But I'm happy if you wrote it down. We are expanding quite a bit. We'll probably hire about 300 people this year. We'll probably lose about 100, so we'll be net plus 200 people this year, plus 200. So what we want to do is try to create a culture right away, an ethic that says that even the very act of being here, first day in the door, fresh out of college, first day in manufacturing, maybe out of a local trade school, donate something, do something, something charitable, something philanthropic. Instill that culture in your people on day one. If you look at GD, unfortunately, our percentage of donation to the United Way has been pretty static in the last 4 or 5 years and not at a high enough level. And I don't want to pretend that simply breathing real energy into a campaign in 2019 is going to magically change everything, but it can start to tilt the slope a little bit so that year in and year out we can build up a little bit more. And I'm putting a lot more personal energy, personal time, personal commitment into trying to make that happen because it absolutely matters. We have a goal to increase our percentage of participation for sure, what we're doing. So, sorry, my glasses are in my way when I read. We have leadership meetings, flow downs. We make it possible, of course, to do automatic withdrawal for payroll. We have a campaign coordinator. We try to promote those folks. You meet some of them here. Last year's and this year's are here amongst us. And as important as anything, we try to do even just one-time events. They do raise a little bit of money, but they raise awareness, right? We do fun things like a dunk tank and things like that. This year, we're going to try to do in the spring something we do for Soldier On, which is another big organization that we support. We're going to try to do a golf tournament for the United Way. And when done well, it turns out our golf tournament for Soldier On raises quite a bit of money. It's their single largest fundraiser. We'd like to do something similar. So as you think about your own campaigns and your own local commitment, what can you do that's special and maybe gets you a little bit further than you've been in the last few years? Because you heard from Chris, $2.3 million needed, which requires a 5% increase. That is a lot to increase in a given year. So lots to do, lots of work. So a little bit on the personal story on this, that I was here 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't remember exactly. In this atrium, Sabik was hosting this event, the United Way kickoff. And, you know, it was nice, right? And I was listening to Chris Hazard at the time, and she was talking about all of the important things that the United Way was trying to do, the points of emphasis. And in particular, at the time, she was talking about wanting to really lower the rate of teen pregnancy in the Berkshires, which apparently was very high. It was high compared to national averages. It was high compared to Massachusetts averages. And it was all really interesting, and I was like, yeah, no, that's a really good idea, you know, and so check the box. It was distant. It wasn't very personal at all until this young lady came up to speak. So she was maybe 21, 22 years old, I don't recall exactly, beautiful, articulate, confident, and it was really close to home. She had been an A student here in a local high school. I want to say Wacona, but I don't even really remember, and I guess the details aren't so important. She was dreaming of college and thinking about where she'd apply, and she's in her junior year. And she got pregnant, and her life unraveled. And she was neither prepared emotionally, nor from a family standpoint, nor financially to handle what that meant. And so to listen to her, it was no longer distant. It was really personal, because I, at the time, had a daughter in high school. And I was like, wow, but for a twist of fate, could that not be me as a father listening to that story? Now, of course, the United Way stepped in her case in a big way. They helped. And then they helped again. And then they helped again. And eventually actually even helped her to get a job, even I think at first with them and then elsewhere. And so she stood up here, not over the top, but having basically become a living success story. Now, it wasn't distant. This could have been any of us, right? It could have been any of your employees, and that makes it way different, what we do and need from the United Way, right? So we count on you. We count on the United Way, and they count on all of us. So to make it hopefully a similar personal story, while you can look at General Dynamics and all the great people we employ, and it's true, and tons of amazing engineers and people with lots of great jobs, but there's a lot of need all around, and the United Way steps in and helps that. So with that, I want to introduce somebody who could tell you their personal story. Mike Cusick, who works for us in software QA, and he'll come up here and he'll tell you a little bit about what it means to get real help from the United Way. So with that, Mike.
Good morning. My name is Mike Cusick. I'm an employee of General Dynamics, and I'm excited that we're helping the United Way kick off the 2019 Workplace campaign. I give through my workplace not just because I'm an employee, but my family has benefited personally through the United Way's early childhood initiatives. So personally, I want to say thank you to everybody here, and thank you for coming out and supporting the United Way. So my son Paul was a very quiet kid from birth, but when he was about 2, it was apparent that he really was struggling to communicate verbally. He was easily frustrated with his attempts, and he started to become a little shy. One of Berkshire United Way's funded partners, the Pediatric Development Center, or PDC, offered the support that Paul really needed. PDC provided in-home visits to help him with his talking and his development, and identified that he had a profound speech delay. The professionals that came in, they played interactive games with him, but he still struggled to express himself. The more they worked with him, though, the more he began to communicate and truly express himself. So when Paul was ready to enter preschool, we chose Gladys Allen Brigham Center, another funded partner of the United Way, and we decided that was the best choice for him at the time. Gladys Allen has a working arrangement with PDC, so Paul continued to receive the services from the people he was familiar with. So Paul wasn't used to school or a classroom setting, and his teachers took extra time and care to make sure that he was comfortable. A few months into the toddler program, he passed the test and no longer needed the services from PDC. You know, for better or for worse, at the time it was better, I suppose. But through the program at Gladys Allen and the services provided by PDC, Paul became a much more social toddler. He was recently, 3 weeks ago, very excited to enter kindergarten at Egremont, and he really enjoys going to school. He has a lot of friends, his vocabulary extends every single day, and he's confident, social, and he's happy. And I'm really grateful for the work that these agencies and the United Way, their commitment to it, made sure that all these kids, like mine, are able to actually get past their issues and overcome them and start being really happy kids. So Berkshire United Way brings resources, volunteers, and programs together to identify community needs and address them, even personal needs from parents who don't really know what to do. But they do more than just fund those programs. They also coordinate those services and make sure that the kids and families have what they need to get by. So I'm proud to say that I live in this community and that there are programs in place to help my family and families that are similar. And I appreciate working for General Dynamics and having the opportunity to speak to all of you today. So thank you.
Wow. Yeah, thank you, Mike. And that's what I meant. It was the same impact that I had listening to that young lady a few years ago. So thank you, Mike. I want to point out that at the time, and I heard that speech and I realized how important the help was. But you wonder, is it a singular example? Or is it even a few examples like the great help afforded to Mike and his family? I'm pretty sure that of the numbers that I've seen, and I look at the United Way's website, they had a huge impact on teen pregnancy. It's down substantially. It's in a different place than it was then. That means that the programs really work. The help is real. It goes from an individual to the entire community. So remember that as you try to talk to your employees about the importance of it, make it personal, make it real, make it really connected. So look, again, thank you. And so with that, I'd like to introduce the President and CEO of the United Way in the Berkshires, Candace Winkler.
Thank you, Carlo, and thank you, Mike. What a powerful story. I have twins that are in the 7th grade, and my daughter struggled significantly as a young child and needed a lot of help, and she's doing great now. It's amazing what early intervention can do, so thank you for sharing your story. And Carlo and Chris, thank you for hosting us. And Carlo, you can tell Amy, when campaign season's over, we'll stop with the, binoculars and the lights and the, no, but seriously, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to highlight and especially thank our Pinnacle companies whose signs are around up here. We hope to have more of those Pinnacle signs next year. And so if you don't know how to become a Pinnacle company, talk to Eileen or Duffy or some of our staff here. But really, I want to thank you all for the support that you provide to Berkshire United Way. Berkshire United Way mobilizes people and resources to strengthen our families right here. It's important work that we do, and we couldn't do it without you. So I want to ask you all to look down at your name tags. We're going to play a little game. And if you have a 45 on your name tag, please raise your hand. Okay, I think we did this right. So that should represent about 45% of you in the room here. And that's the number of third graders that are reading proficiently here in the Berkshires. So I'm going to say that again. That's the amount that are reading proficiently. That means 55% are not. And so I have concern about that for a couple things. I have concern about that for the 55% who are not reading proficiently, because we know that's an important marker and indicator of their future success. Research tells us it's clear. It's clear that if you're reading proficiently at third grade, you are much more likely to go on to graduate from high school. You're much more likely to then go on to college, to get a good job. Your health outcomes are better. In fact, many prison systems around the nation look at the third grade reading scores to plan and predict what kind of needs they will have in the future. So it's a really important time in an individual's life, and that's something that United Way is committed to working on, turning the curve on and improving those numbers, because we not only care about the 55% that can't read proficiently at third grade, but those 45% that can are not getting the support they need because the teachers are working on the other 55%. So this is a big issue, and we are really committed at Berkshire United Way to leaning in on it. Okay, back to your name tags. Who has 1 million on their name tag? Okay, great. Anybody know what the 1 million is for? Anybody want to? A couple of years ago, Berkshire United Way staff spoke with the IRS, and they said to us, Berkshire County is not adequately leveraging the earned income tax returns for your residents. So again, we leaned in and said, what can we do? And we augmented what was already happening around helping individuals in this community get those resources. We were able, in the last couple of years, to move that number from 1.5 million to 2.5 million. So we have an additional $1 million that is coming back into the pockets of families here in this area. Families like Maria's family, who was one of our clients who came in. One of my board members actually worked with her. Single mom, she had a 9-year-old son, and broken car. She was actually anxious to come in, and she had always done her taxes, and she thought she owed a lot of money. And she was really stressed about how to pay for it. So after 30, 45 minutes working with our volunteer, she realized she was getting a $4,000 tax rebate return. I mean, that meant she could fix her car, she could get ahead on her bills. Imagine Maria and how she felt at that moment, realizing those monies were coming back into her family, and she was going to be able to take care of the things she needed to take care of. So again, another really important issue that we have here. Okay, last number that I have is look down. Who has 200? Okay, we got a couple 200s. Great, Mike's got 200. So 200, that is the number of high schoolers, and we work with thousands of high schoolers. So those of you who have kids in school and they've taken that prevention needs assessment, that's us. We do that. I know the police department uses that for their planning purposes to really understand what's happening with our youth. But the 200 number is the number of high schoolers and college-age youth that we're working with specific work readiness and internship skills and opportunities. Because what we've heard from many of you is you can't find employees, and the people who come through the door aren't prepared to work. And so we're trying to partner with you to make sure that you have employees today and employees tomorrow. And so I recently had the opportunity up with a program, Berkshire Business Interns, to speak to about 45 youth who had spent the summer with a paid internship. And in addition to that, they were able to learn about this magical place. They were able to do things like go to Tanglewood, go to Shaker Village, go hiking, eat at some of our fabulous restaurants, really explore what it would be like to live here. You know, as somebody who could have gone a lot of different places but chose to come to this community, we have a lot to offer. The cultural opportunities, the natural beauty, not to mention, I was particularly drawn to the fabulous work that United Way is doing. You know, it's a really high quality of life that we can offer here. And so the more we can introduce young people who are in college from New York or around the state, the more likely we are to be competitive at bringing them here, recruiting that talent here that's going to help all of us. So that's a little bit about some of the programmatic work where Berkshire United Way is leaning in. Pledging to United Way is one of the single most efficient and effective ways you can have the broadest philanthropic impact right here where you live. We are data-driven. We have a pulse on the needs in the community. We are committed to results, and we are committed to strengthening the families that live here. As Chris said, we're here for good. So I want to thank you all for your participation in our work. Many of you volunteer, many of you are donors, many of you run workplace campaigns. We couldn't do our work without you. I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for being here this morning.
Hey, wasn't that great? Let's give Carlo, Candace, and Mike one more round of applause. Great job. So we're going to wrap it up just a couple of minutes here. Look, we're in this together. As business and community leaders, we have a shared vested interest in a strong community. You've heard that over and over from the speakers this morning. We need to invest in our people, to build strong families, support our workforce, build the workforce of the future, make the Berkshires an attractive place to live and work for everyone, right? That's our responsibility as leaders in the community, as business leaders. And the Berkshire United Way is a critical element in allowing us to do that. So your contribution personally, your campaign, your business contribution, all very important to allow us to do the great work that the United Way does every day in Berkshire County. So to remind you, what's the goal? 2.3, right? 2.3 million. How much of an increase is that for all the campaigns? 5%, right? So if you need help with that, with your campaign, reach out to the United Way staff. We have an outstanding staff. They prepared great new materials to help you with the campaign. There are campaign executives available that can brainstorm or help get your initiatives moving within your campaign and get you jump-started. So take advantage of those resources, take advantage of what the United Way has to offer to have an outstanding workplace campaign this year. As we close, I'd like to thank you all again for your commitment to the United Way, for taking time out of your busy day to show up today and spend some time with us.
So I can answer that for two reasons, both professionally and personally. Berkshire United Way offered services for me when I was a kid. I grew up here. They also offered services for me as a single parent. So going forward, paying that forward, when this opportunity was presented to me from Ray Murray, I decided this was a good opportunity for me to give back to the community on my behalf. So yeah. I'm here for good because Berkshire United Way provided services for me as a child and as an adult, and I'm here to pay it back forward.
Berkshire United Way matters to me because it gives me the opportunity to take resources and partnerships countywide and find a way to use all of that good in one collective spot. Oh, I'm here for good because I came to the Berkshires a few years ago and it really has become my home. It's a place that I care deeply about and I want to do whatever I can to do the most good here in my own community.
The Berkshire United Way matters to me so much. I can't say all the work that United Way does for everybody in the community. Every time I hear someone's personal story, I can't help but get emotional every time. I don't know them, and yet I know that they are here for good because Berkshire United Way is here for good and helping them succeed. The children succeed to read. I have a third grader, and so hearing that third grade proficiency means so much to me. I want to be sure that if she can't get there, which I know she could, there's support in the community to help her. I love seeing all the programs in action. I love visiting them and monitoring them and reviewing RFPs. And the hard part is reviewing them and not giving funding to every program. So I just hope that everyone can commit even $1 or $5 so that we can get every amazing program in the county, and the United Way is here to help them do that. I'm here for good because I support the community and I love to help people. I just can't help it. My husband would tell you that I do way too much. And I think we all need to be here for good to help those people who can't help themselves, who might need extra help, so that we can help them be here for good, so that everyone continue to be here for good and keep the community thriving.
Berkshire United Way matters to me for two distinct reasons. Personally, raising a family here, it makes for a stronger community. And then in my professional life, having United Way involved gives our employees an opportunity to engage, but also as a community bank, it strengthens our community, so it's very much aligned with the mission of Lee Bank and a community bank as well. I'm here for good to hopefully help as much as I can with United Way's efforts to stay relevant in Berkshire County and to continue to support our community.
Berkshire United Way matters to me because they mean a healthier community. They're such a broad-reaching organization that helps so many people who are very close to us, and we may not even know that. Every person in this room has either directly benefited from United Way or knows somebody who has benefited from the United Way. At Hillcrest, we're completely proud to be a partner, and we say it all the time, a healthier Berkshire United Way is a healthier work community and Berkshire community, and probably a healthier family as well. I'm here for good because I love the Berkshires, because we can have an event like this filled with a room of people who also care about the very community that I belong to and have so for my entire life.
I'm here for good because the Berkshires is a great community in which to live, work, and thrive. Berkshire United Way matters to me because it brings together resources in order to make a positive change in our community.
Berkshire United Way matters to me because of the great work that they do in the community. There's such need in our community, and we need opportunities for folks to give back. And whether it's financial or whether it's by donating their time, there are tremendous needs and tremendous opportunities in the county, and Berkshire United Way facilitates us contributing to those needs. I'm here for good because I'm dedicated to Berkshire County, to making it a better place to live, to improving the community, improving lives of families. I raised my family here. We've been here for 32 years, and we love it in the Berkshires. We're not going anywhere. We're here for good.
As I say, and I said today, do I work hard? Sure, I work really hard. A lot of people work hard. And so we could say maybe it's because of all that, hard work and things that we've done that life is going well. On the other hand, it's also a certain amount of good fortune. But for a twist of fate, any one of us could be in a completely different situation. And in those cases, it's the United Way and its organizations supported by the United Way and organizations like the United Way that make all of the difference and that make our community better. General Dynamics, we've been very fortunate in the last 20 years or so. We've been growing systematically and continuously. And our people are deeply committed to the community. We want to be here on an ongoing, all-the-time basis. We want to be an employer that the community can count on, not just to be here providing great jobs, but that we inspire a culture where community support, help, charitable contributions, philanthropy is a fundamental underpinning of who we are. I want to be here permanently, and I want to create a culture and foster a culture of commitment to the community. Here for good in both senses of the word.